With Nebraska softball's season-ending loss at the Women's College World Series, 12 Husker seniors see their college careers come to an end. That includes Jordy Frahm, who completely changed the game in her 5 years of Division I softball. Frahm is a two-time national champion back before she changed her name from Jordy Ball at Oklahoma and helped revive her hometown Huskers, with the Papillion native leading Nebraska back to this stage for the first time in 13 years. Not only that, they won their first game there since 2002. Frahm has rewritten records in the sport and leaves a lasting legacy behind.
She's an ultimate competitor. She's an ultimate teammate, and she's so proud to wear this jersey.
Somebody said, Jordy, thank you for coming home and changing this program. And I said, I didn't come home and change this program. No one person can do that. It was everybody the last 3 years putting in their work to make this team what it was this year.
From me redshirting and getting hurt my sophomore year to her redshirting and getting hurt her first year back at Nebraska and having that extra year, and then me transferring from my extra year here is just really special.
She's just a competitor, and she's never going to give up. And she put every single inch of her body and blood and sweat into this team, and I am just so incredibly grateful that I got to play behind her.
The semifinals are set at the Women's College World Series. Both Tennessee and Alabama are undefeated, so Texas and Texas Tech will need to win twice to advance to the championship series.